All right, so first garden tour of 2023, April 8th, 2023. We're going to start over here with some new additions. We have a potato, well, a couple potatoes. So this first one is just like a regular rustic potato. It actually came up first before the other variety over there, which is a purple potato. But I think it's probably getting just more sun and it's not doing as well as the purple potato is over here. This purple potato just looks very happy, very healthy, and it has some flowers on it. But the regular potato just looks like it's struggling a little bit more. Here in the middle, this one I put some ranunculus in, some flowers. And what I actually did was the bottom of this container had some old potting mix from some overwintered peppers that didn't make it. Then I put food scraps, put some bokashi on it, and then more potting mix on top, and I put the ranunculus in there, and now there's one coming up. I tried to pre-sprout the ranunculus and didn't have any luck, so I wasn't sure if they were viable at all, so I just kind of dumped them in there. Seems like the soil is healthy too, because I had some mushrooms come up in there, so fingers crossed I get some flowers. All right, so let's go over into bed one. So all these beds have a lot of stuff going on in them. So we'll start here with a dahlia. So this is a dahlia, lots of mint. I made the mistake when I first built this bed in 2019 of planting mint directly in the ground, and since then, lots and lots of mint. But amongst the mint, we also have carrots coming up, which is exciting. I use these guys as markers of the different types of carrots, but then I forgot to write it down. So I just know that's some type of carrot, and there's another carrot coming up. So both of that's exciting because I have not had success growing carrots yet. So I'm hopeful for this year that I'll actually get a carrot at the very least. Also have another dahlia flower there. We have some sunflowers here in the back. And I planted some seeds, so hopefully we'll get some additional sunflowers coming up too. Pretty much everything out right now was all started indoors, and then I've been bringing them out over the last couple weeks. And then here we have some flowers. This is a cosmos. Some things are labeled, some things are not, so it'll be kind of a surprise. In the middle there I have a lavender. That one was not started from seed. I bought that one, you can tell by the tag. And then also have garbanzo beans here and there. Like I said, lots of mint and a carrot, and then some corn back there. And then here in this section I planted some corn too, so I hope it comes up. We have a Thai basil here in the front. This is a tomato which is labeled. It's a golden tomato. And there's cucumber here, and there's one back there too. I've also not been super successful with cucumbers either, so fingers crossed these work out. Although it really just looks like this is the only one that's looking well. I actually planted about 4, and so of the 4 I have one doing well and one maybe kind of sort of surviving back there. And then that's another cosmos, a single cosmos. On the trellis is going to also be some red pole beans. You can see by that sign. So that's going to be that guy right there. And we'll just go around to under here. So we got the beans right here. And then this is a grape. This is a Concord grape. So the idea is the grape is going to climb over the trellis. And just to use the trellises that I have, I wanted to kind of put something on there. We also have some red onions, which were planted, I believe it was 2020, and every year they just come up, die back, come up, die back. They never really bulb up to make a true onion that I can, pick, so I just leave them alone. Then here in bed 2, we have strawberries, so I added a couple more this year. This one's new, and flowering. And this is the one from last year, which is doing really well still, and then that's a new one also. Then we have another grape over here that's going to climb up. And along with the grapes, we have some snap peas. You can see some here, all fruiting. And because the snap peas are going to be done once it heats up, I also interplanted them with some more beans that are here. And that is the rattlesnake bean. So that bean will climb up in between all the peas up and over the trellis, and also gives the grapes some time to climb up as well. And then here in the front of bed 2, we have a calendula. We have some radishes, so daikon radish on this side, watermelon radish on that side. And then here I have another golden tomato. There was a little basil back there, but is not doing so well. There, I need to get some more basil. This is a kale plant. This is another garbanzo bean because I wasn't sure about the soil in bed 1, so I put one here as kind of like an experiment. Let's see which one grows better. But they're both looking pretty good right now, so I'm happy with both. This is a shishito, and you can see there's a little one coming in right there. It'll be the first pepper of the season. This is my scallion. So if you remember back to last year, there were actually like 3 here. I think I'm actually going to pull these out. They've been here for about 3-4 years, so I think they're kind of done. Pull them out and I'll get some fresh ones in. And then also have a serrano pepper here. And then this is a flower. This is a straw flower here in the middle. And then back there, that's an African marigold, another African marigold, and a dancing cosmos. And there in that middle is probably a weed that I need to pull. But I was kind of waiting to see what it looks like first because I wasn't sure if it was a volunteer plant from last year or if it was going to be a weed. So I was just waiting to see. Okay, this is the only bed that's like done so far. Here we have another flower, status flower. This one is an African daisy. Back there we have another dancing cosmos. This is a Russian tomato that I can't pronounce. It's an indeterminate, so I'm thinking I'll just have it tied up to this T-post. In the back here we have sorrel, 3 of those. And then I bought some strawberries to put in here too. This one's doing well. These 2, not so well. So we'll kind of see what happens with them. I'm not sure what's going on. And something's been digging in the bed. You can see over there. And so here we have another kale. This is some cilantro. This one is a chocolate scotch bonnet, which is just looking really nice. This was a good one that I budded and it separated. This is another calendula. And this is a purple bell pepper. And then we already talked about the status. So this is bed like 2.5. So this wasn't actually in the plan this year for me to build. I was gonna kind of build just like half this and back, but then I had like some extra wood, so I kind of threw it together to make this kind of terraced bed look. Not my best construction, but I'm hoping, I think it'll work. We'll see what happens. So into bed 3. So here in the corner, again, is another calendula. So calendula is really good for, well, for skin and stuff like that, the actual plant, but it also attracts pests. So it's a good kind of like divergent plant. Here we have an eggplant. This is the Ping Tong eggplant. I think grew this one last year, never really got anything from it, but it already has a flower this year, so I'm hopeful. And then this one is this chocolate scotch bonnet. And then another straw flower. And then there in the middle is tick seed or coreopsis. It's another flower. There is a tomato here, which is a blue tomato. And I have a couple more tomatoes on the deck that we'll talk about too, and this is where they're gonna go, just right here along this line. We have another African marigold, a snapdragon. And then here we have bok choy and some Swiss, giant Swiss chard. So you have some bok choy here, here, and here. And then interplanted is Swiss chard. And then there's also some basil and more Swiss chard, more cilantro, more snapdragon, and more cosmos. So the snapdragon really don't like when it gets hot, so they'll be gone pretty soon and then they'll be replaced with something else. All right, and then this is the wildflower area. If you remember back to last year also, in October, I bought a like discount persimmon tree, which just looked like twigs. I planted it December 31st, and I wasn't sure if it was dead or alive because again, it was all just twigs, but there it is right there in the middle of the wildflower area, all springed out and lots of leaves, so I think it's going to do well. So right now the wildflower area is mostly just green, except for those flowers in there, which are coming up really well, nice and tall above everything else. So back there, there's also the pomegranate, not persimmon, the pomegranate tree. And so that tree, I actually think, did not make it, but it is springing up from the bottom, so that's good. I'm guessing this winter just got a lot colder than I actually realized that it was. All right. So now we're kind of reverse ordering, because this would be bed 6, but you know, we'll start back here and then we'll work our way forward. So here we have another statice flower. This is also like the garlic bed. So we have statice, we have leeks, which did not so great. First time trying to grow leeks, so yeah, this was the result. And then this is a Scotch bonnet, which looks fantastic. And there's a calendula that's actually open. And then more Russian tomatoes. Here there are 3 of them. There's one over there that are going to grow up this trellis. Right here with the cornflower, which we'll actually just look at these guys that are closer. So these are the cornflowers here, different colors, and they're doing really well, really fantastic. I love this darker color, and this is more of the traditional, the blue. And then interplanted with that, or really the cornflowers are interplanted with the garlic, but these are all garlic here, which are doing okay as well. And then I have garlic chives here in the corner, and down the middle was supposed to be fruit bushes. So this one is the ebony blackberry bush right there, and this was a blackberry cutting I took from a friend, and that was a raspberry that came with the ebony blackberry, but the raspberry didn't make it. Ebony still looks good, so I will just hope that that one grows bigger and kind of takes over this area over time. Then moving to bed 5 now. So here on the inside of this trellis, this arch, we have more tomatoes. These are blue tomatoes. So they're indeterminate. They're going to grow, well, the idea is that they'll grow up this arch. There's plenty of space for them to grow. And they give like little blue cherry tomatoes essentially. So we got 4 of those here, and they're looking pretty good. And then on the corner, I have a Korean mint. And then next to the Korean mint is a sweet pea, like the sweet pea flower. And they're holding on, but I don't see any, well, that one in the middle is kind of doing a better job of trying to climb. But the idea originally was that the sweet peas would climb the trellis and give lots of blooms, but they never really took off. So I decided to just plant the tomatoes here too in the meantime. And then between the tomatoes are basil. So this is the sweet Danny lemon basil here, and there's another one down there. And then we have seashell cosmos right here. This is another calendula, which is going to open soon. This is borage. So this one's another flower, but it's an edible flower. And it's going to get really big, and bees love it. And the flowers are supposed to taste like a little like cucumbers. So interested to see what that one's like. This is a bird pepper, another snapdragon here, and this is another chocolate Scotch bonnet. Then in the middle we have sugar baby watermelon right down the middle there. Another kale plant, and this is another straw flower plant here, and African marigold. All right, so bed 4. So we have cilantro here on the end. This is the dandelion that overwintered from last year and looks just fantastic. There are about 3 of these in the bed, and they just came back with vigor, so they look great. This is the Peruvian pepper, which is one of my favorites, just for like making stuff. I just like how they look. They're very cute. This is the bird's eye pepper again, snapdragon. This is another dahlia. This one I've had in here for a year and a half or so. It did not bloom last year, I'm hoping it blooms this year. It came back pretty quick this year, quicker than it did last year, so fingers crossed. These are more snapdragons I need to plant out. Here in the middle also are some tomatoes. Come around this side so we can see them. So these are the early tomatoes. They're tied up on this string up to the top, so they're actually determinate tomatoes. They shouldn't get too tall, but I wanted to give them a little bit of support. And in between the tomato is another basil plant. This is a rose, a climbing rose, so I'm hoping that it will also climb up this metal T or clothesline. And then on the other side we have some golden tomatoes here, and another Thai basil right there, another African marigold in the middle, and a nasturtium. So nasturtium, also edible, also a flower. Leaves are edible, flowers edible, and apparently it's more kind of a strong bitter type flavor. Interested to try it. This is a single cosmos, more cilantro, more Thai basil, have a lettuce here, more cilantro, and another African daisy. All right, that's all the garden beds. And then over here, this is like the iris bed, and there is one iris getting ready to bloom right there. And in that pot, I'm hoping that those are poppies. Toss some poppy seeds in there, hoping that's what comes up. But also in this bed I have alliums, which are there in the middle. I don't know, because I feel like it's a little late for them. I feel like they should have bloomed already, but we'll see. And then have some oregano. But it's really funny because, you know, the oregano and the weeds, this is a weed versus that's the oregano, are very much intertwined in here. So I really need to get in there and kind of weed. Otherwise you're foraging to decide what's a weed and what's oregano. And then we have another borage plant here, which is doing really well. Huge leaves. And then some thyme. Thyme's doing well also, spreading nicely. So my original thought with the thyme and putting the oregano in here is that they would spread and kind of take over the weeds. But really the weeds just kind of intertwined with them. And I'm not too upset by it because I like these little yellow flowers that are on these. So I tend to like not really pull them very much in this bed and just kind of let them do their thing. And then over here is an onion chive, which isn't doing great, but we'll see if it bounces back. Okay. So, actually we'll go this way really quick. Another new addition is the fig tree. And like the pomegranate, I think the winter killed it, but I am hoping that it sprouts back from the bottom. But I think this stalk is dead. All right. And then this is a blueberry bush. This is kind of my favorite because it requires zero maintenance, or I give it zero maintenance, and it still does well. Got some blueberries on it right now. It's a little cluster, and there's some more back there. So I'm pretty happy with it and how everything's looking. And then over here is the pink lemonade blueberry, which this one also had some flowers on it, but I don't see nearly as many clusters. Like there's a couple right there, and there's another one there. So I don't know if they kind of just didn't hold, they fell off, or what's going on, but we'll see. This is its first year, so I'm going to give it some time anyway. All right, these side ones, lots of weeds. Need to get those weeds pulled up. We have some catmint here, which is doing well now. It's getting a lot more established and kind of peeking through, but I actually kind of like it leaning through the side. I think that's great, and I kind of wanted to take over the whole thing. Got some alliums that have not bloomed yet, and a new addition is some rosemary in here. So these beds are really interesting because there's no water or anything to them, so I'm just trying to find tough things that can last. I put some wildflower seeds in here and they didn't really come up. All that comes up is the weeds. So now we're trying rosemary, some mint that I pulled from bed 1, and this is some thyme. This one is a creeping mother thyme, and then more thyme. So this is a Dune Valley thyme. So hoping the thyme will just kind of creep over everything and take over the whole bed and get rid of the weeds. And that is it for the first garden tour of 2023.